Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. I have somebody very who I adore, who I have had a great conversation with a couple of days ago. And I'm trying to make sure I pronounce your name. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce it right.
Christine Blosdale.
Okay. I still want to make sure I said it right.
Yes.
Miss Christine. All right. A coach and has done so much in her world.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the fact your mom was just a worldly woman and just so many talents and yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on here.
I'm very happy to be here, and we hope I hope that we can give some inspiration to your audience as well.
Yes. Now we're going to talk about the combination of coaching and therapy. And I say that because last time we spoke, I told you about my medical situation.
Yes.
And I went through almost 20 years of no answers, still no answers, honestly. And my nephew's girlfriend said she went to the doctor because she thinks her child either has autism or ADHD. They told her just to give him junk food.
What?
Yes, just to give him junk food. And you go to these doctors. Like my mom just had a car accident with my son in the car. And I asked her, I said, why you didn't take him to the emergency room? And she was like, he said nothing was wrong. I said, Mom, he's autistic. He still should have went.
Yeah.
And so it's sad that, you know, you have people that are constantly, when people are telling that something's wrong, everybody's telling you just suck it up. Act like it don't happen. Act like it didn't exist. You'll be okay. Just brush it off. I'm like, it's not like that mentally though.
No.
Physically, depending. Yeah, you can break your arm and it'll get better. But what if where you have to get it completely replaced? What if you
Yeah.
can't walk again?
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same, thing? So that's why I wanted to have, talk about the fact of us being coaches and the way of how coaching needs to be more so a part of the medical field and especially with mental health. Because, yeah, I've been a therapist and they'll just give me medication. I'm like, that's not helping me. I can
Mm-mm.
take my son to speech therapy and they'll say, we'll just do the basics. No,
No. No, that's not going to work. And
no.
and if you have a good coach or good teacher, I always equate the work that I do as being a teacher. Uh, you check in with your clients. You check in regularly. And for me, I have people can work with me, one off. They can do a 2 hour coaching session with me and then go on their merry way. Or they can come in and see me for 3 hours and then go on their merry way. I have a program where I have every single week, we spend 2 hours every single week. And so much of it is, it's not just me talking about their business and their branding. It's really about how they're actually doing. Because if they are physically, emotionally, spiritually not well or thrown off the track, they're not going to be able to really make gains in their business. So we deal with that, and that checking in, that constant checking in. Plus, I love I mean, they know that I have their best interests at heart. So knowing that you have somebody that every single week you can also use as a sounding board and say, you know what, I've I've had I've had times too where I've got clients, we're booked in for a session, and I can tell right away when they're on that Zoom call. I'm like, how you doing? And they go, and I'm like, you know what? Are you overwhelmed? Is there too much stuff going on? Yep. Okay, let's cancel today. Unless you need to talk to me about stuff, let's cancel today because you're not going to be fully present, and we want to make it worth your while, and we'll just reschedule for another time. So that gives them the opportunity, if they need to be in that space, because sometimes, you don't feel like being all cheery, and my energy level's high, right? And like like with you, our energy level is high, and we want to give the most to our clients. We really do. But then again, we also have to know when to say, okay, we'll put it on the back burner for now, and we'll come back to it later.
I agree because I mean, when I was going through it, God was my coach. You know,
Hmm.
some people don't have a coach. Some
Right.
people can't even afford to coach. And when I started talking about, and this was just personally, me just talking about my own experiences, I didn't even think in a million years that so many people could relate to me as far as not having diagnosis. And like when a friend of mine, she died because she went to the doctor every 30 days. They never told her she had cancer, never tested her for it. But
Wow.
yet you can go to Turkey and they'll do the whole entire examination every year and tell you everything that's going on. Somebody that Mr. Peter said they have where they get heart checks every year.
Wow.
So
In
the
Turkey.
fact, yeah, no, in Canada they get checked
Okay.
every year for for heart disease and things like that. But yet and still, we go to the doctor and we have all of these doctors that don't even talk about keto. They don't talk about vegan. They don't talk about pescatarian. I started learning about, the chemicals in our food by when I lost my gallbladder, having a lot of reactions. And I'm just like, why is I can't eat this no more? Why can't I eat that no more? Then I'm looking at all these extensive, chemicals and stuff like that. And
Mm.
so I would talk about it. And that's what led me to coaching. And so it's just and then when I first started coaching, when I tell you nobody really told me anything, and I would take these courses and I'm just like, but how am I supposed to know how to do a course when nobody's teaching me how to do it? How am I supposed to know how to put together a webinar and seminar, even if it is a free 30-day course? Most of these people don't even have teaching degrees.
Right.
And so, yeah, you're going to give me something with a course on it, but you don't teach it, you
Oh, I hate
know?
that. No, I hate that. I don't do that. Yeah, I don't like those at all. There's nothing more lonely than taking a course by yourself when and there's no feedback loop. There's nothing. I offer webinars and workshops periodically to help people in certain things. So it might be a a workshop on some AI tools that I use to help streamline like to make it so much easier. Or social media, like how to create a TikTok, right? Or how to create a webinar workshop. I'll do these kind of things, but I don't have any courses. And that's because the idea of somebody signing up and then going into this funnely thing and checking off this or that and following something where I'm not giving them feedback. I don't know if they're on the track or not, right? The most important thing for me is to have that one-on-one time with somebody.
I agree.
You have to. You have to. If it's this blind, I call it shelf help, where, people are inundated with shelf help. And that's when they'll buy a program, they go, oh, I'm gonna get around to it, or, a video course or something like that. I'm gonna do that. And they never get into it. When
No.
you have time with a person, you feel obligated to make the appointment, right? To be there. And then you have that interaction. And that's the only way you can, as a coach or as a teacher, it's the only way you can find out where somebody is.
Yep.
If it's a course, there's no way to get that feedback, right? And I understand
Hmm.
there's people that do they make a great living creating courses, and I don't want to poo-poo anybody from doing that if that's your thing, but it ain't my thing.
Yeah. And like I said if I was to do a course, I'm going to teach it.
Yes,
Once a
exactly.
month I would teach it because I mean, I feel like courses can be a good thing if you're going to create something that's going to be something that people can use even after. And I said I was going to do something where I wanted, to help create a course for people that have children, people that have kids
Yeah.
and the same curriculum they're learning they can teach their children and create something that's specifically for their kids and
Oh, I like
something
that.
they could do as far as teaching. Because I feel like we as parents, we should be teaching the same way that educators do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just saying this is what we need to do, no, give them a course on life skills that you create, and they actually do it because the school system is not obligated to raise your kids.
No, and they're not going to teach them that they're the really important things, like being a critical thinker. They have, and their hands are tied as teachers too, as educators too. I understand that because they're forced to teach in a model that is, you know, one way. And they
Yeah.
don't realize that people, this is the thing about a mark of a good teacher or the mark of a good coach is someone who can adapt the information that they want to pass on, and they can adapt it to different people's learning skills. Some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people they need it really broken down to be very simple and understandable. And if you're over here, if you're way up here being very complicated and technical, and your person, your student or your client is down here and needs it to be in a simpler manner, then there's a disconnect, and there's going to be frustration, and then they'll drop out, or they just won't achieve what you want to. And it's the same thing with kids. Everybody's different how they learn.
Yeah, I agree. Because my son's autistic, and I know in New Jersey they have they have teachers, like 4 or 5 different teachers in the same classroom, and each one is in exceptional, mild, medium, or whatever. And I think that works too, because if you put kids who all learn the same way in one place, but at the same time they're still in a room with other kids and they're able to integrate, it might just
Yeah,
be that one subject they may not be that good at. It may not just be
exactly.
everything,
Exactly.
and then the way we teach, it's like kids are like, I guess when George W. Bush did No Child Left Behind, I think that was the greatest disservice of all time, because I don't think that that's fair. I think that there are children that do deserve to pass because they do the work. But if you let every child pass, that is the reason as an adult when they go to college, like my nephew said, I don't know if I can handle college. College is so different than high school. I said,
Yeah.
because college is not going to let you just pass.
Right.
No, you got to actually do the work. And I think, in Germany, them graduating in the ninth grade and then 10th through 12th being technical school, in all honesty, I thought it was the better way, because 10th through 12th, they're learning an actual skill versus
Yeah.
them taking a bunch of unnecessary classes that they don't need. And if they want to go to 4 year to get their bachelor's or their master's, they could do that. But
Yes.
at least they're taking three different curriculums that they have, some type of degree in, so they can make a choice between those three, what they want to be, and make that decision.
Yeah. I think that's, and that also has more higher engagement, because if you're studying something, especially at that age, because it's really young, but at that age,
Mm-hmm.
if you're studying, if you have options on what you can study, it gives you time to sort of figure that out. Whereas, like, yeah, because when I was in school, it's like, gosh, I was like, I've never once used algebra. I'm 61, and you know what? 1b times 3c, whatever. I don't geometry and algebra I have not used. Now maybe my critical thinking uh skills maybe were somewhat enhanced, but no, I had all A's. I had A plus, English, science, all these different classes that you take. I was like an A plus student, and then it came to math, and when it just, I mean, I was so frustrated with it. I didn't understand it. It did not make sense to me. I remember as a kid, I'd bring home my report card, and it would be like, A plus, A, B plus, whatever. B plus was like, oh, and then it would get down to the math class, and it'd be like a D or a D minus or something. And my dad said, "You know what, Christine? For most people, 1 + 1 = 2. He goes, but not necessarily for you. I said, yeah, because if I could, it has to be concrete for me. You know,
Yeah.
doesn't I never understood it, and that's why people who are very talented with math, I look up to them. I mean, I go, geez, you're from another planet. That's amazing. What they should teach is they should teach you how to file an income tax return.
That part. The
That would
things
be more
that are
helpful.
important. Yeah. The things that are actually going to help you. How to balance a checkbook.
Yes,
How to pay
exactly.
bills. I
How to create a
mean,
budget.
yeah.
Let's teach kids that.
Yeah. And the first thing they want to do when they get to college is give them a credit card.
I
I remember
know.
when I tried to get a car, they said you have to get a cosigner. I said, what do I need to get a cosigner for? I have credit. I've been working at my job a few years. Why can't I get a car? And I learned that it's about putting you in debt.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about putting you in debt. And so when you're coaching these people and they're talking about no contact with their parents, no contact with their kids, you know, it's crazy. And I'm just like, because when Oprah Winfrey did that thing about the no parent contact, I was just like, I'm not surprised because a lot of parents take advantage of their kids and vice versa. It goes both ways. And you have that golden child and that invisible child. And that invisible child ends up being in a bad situation because they're thinking everything they do is wrong because their parents don't even give them any type of praise. Then they do well. Their parents are coming to them instead of the sibling asking them for money, but that's your golden child. And so because this sibling wants love so bad, they're paying the bills, but yet and still now it's temporarily to permanent. Now they want you to fund your sister's wedding, pay off her student loans. And I'm just sitting there like, why am I paying off something that I didn't do?
Yeah.
So
No,
now
that's not
you
fair.
have this so now you have this child that's thinking that in every relationship that's what they have to do
Mm.
because it goes back to your parents. And I tell people that family dynamic is the hardest to maneuver because you don't get to choose them.
No, you
And
don't.
unlike everybody else, you don't get to choose them. Everybody else you get to choose. You get to choose everybody else, but you cannot choose your family. I mean, not biologically anyway, but you can choose your family based on the people that are closest to you. But that's not something you learn until later. And like
Yeah.
I tell people, therapy is good. I will never say therapy is not good, but I think therapy and coaching should go hand in hand. More so the actions of it. And I tell people, I mean, if you have basketball players and football players and sports that have coaches and anything else that you do, which is also teaching, what is the difference between that and having coaches in the medical field, having coaches in mental health, coaches in business, coaching and jobs? Because I think having coaches in that way is very important.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, we'd have to just change. What is it? I don't even know who you'd go to. Where would you go to get that changed?
That's a good question. I would say, it's one of the things I think that
Well, they just
government,
changed the professional. They just changed the definition of professional, didn't they?
yeah,
Didn't they? The Trump administration. They just changed it.
yeah,
If you're a nurse, it's not a profession anymore. You're not a professional. I forget the other ones. What the other ones were? Were they teachers?
physical therapy,
Physical
some
therapy.
physical therapy, occupational therapy. Jesus, it's a long list. I wouldn't be surprised if teachers is not considered a non-profession. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's yeah. Well,
You're
and it's
wanting people to pay for everything. You want people to pay for their insurance. Insurance is sky high. I looked on the Affordable Care Act, and I'm looking at my insurance is $400 and something dollars, which is the same price as the regular insurance. I might as well go through the regular insurance if that's the case.
Yeah.
to do that. It just doesn't make any sense to me at
Well, yeah,
all.
no, that is going to be, I think that's something that is really it's going to impact a lot of people. I have clients in the US. I'm here in Australia, but I have clients in the US who said whatever their monthly costs were for insurance coming now in 2026. Let's say it was, let's say it was $400 a month. Now it's going to be 1,500, or close to $2,000 a month. Like, who can pay for that? And that's
Exactly.
just insurance, in case something goes, happens that you. But it's like, it doesn't make any sense. For me, like, just like with your family, you want to make sure everybody's as healthy as possible, and that's the best insurance, to make sure that the stuff that's even low cost to take care of is covered, right?
Yeah.
Preventative as much as possible as well. That's where
Yeah.
coaching could come in, that preventative.
Yeah.
So people could be
Yeah.
touching base with. I think there's just too many people that fall through the cracks, and they'd feel that there's nobody there for them.
Yep. And then you have homeless people that are out here, veterans that are out here homeless. You would think that veterans wouldn't be homeless. You have so many people with so many mental illnesses because the parents never took them to therapy because they thought it was an embarrassment. And you have a lot of kids. The counselor will say to the parents, "The child needs to go to therapy." They're like, "No, there's nothing wrong with them." But then when they turn on them, then it's all of a sudden there's something wrong. Or if you have these mass shootings where all these people are running around shooting everybody, now you're saying your child has mental health issues, but you knew this
Right.
before this.
Right.
You did not get them therapy, but because you don't want your child, because now it's affecting you, because now they're looking into you as a parent. Because with anything that come on in the news with a crime, they're going to look at the family, they're going to look at the mental health, side of it. You can't use mental health if they were never diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
But that's what they like to do. They like to say, "Oh, it's mental health," and then for some people, it's aggression. I said, "Well, isn't that the same thing? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be the same issue if a person's aggressive versus someone?" I said, like that one autistic young man that went to the school and he shot his mom and shot everybody else. And I said, "What in the world would you? Why in the world would you have a gun in the house and you have a child with special needs who knows how to
Yeah.
use it? Why would you do that?" So in the end, the way that people are handling rejection is another reason that coaching is needed, because I think rejection, this, and I like to say, in the mortal words of James Scott Farron, "I want what I want and I want it now. I don't care how I get it, who I hurt. I don't care, I'm determined to get it." But then when you get it, the pain that come with it, the person that wanted you in the first place, no, the minute they told you no, you should have left it alone then. But you keep going after it and you keep wanting it. And I tell people, healing is not about it being temporary. Can it be permanent? Yeah, it can be. If you do the work to maintain it. But if you can't maintain it, you can't, if you don't evolve, you don't grow, you don't elevate, and you don't mature, then you're never going to be able to maintain it. Even as coaches, we can sit here all day long and me in therapy, yeah, they sit, they listen, and yeah, they give you medication and they'll ask you how you feel. But the one thing a therapist can't tell you is what to do. They can only give you advice. That's the only thing that a therapist can do, is give you advice, give you a diagnosis if you have, depression or anxiety. But they can't tell you how to go about, giving you things to do to overcome it.
Right.
Which is where, coaches come in, that deal with healing and recovery and addiction. It's just like an addiction person that has a sponsor. A
Right.
sponsor can believe in you all day long, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be with you 24/7 to stop you from the influences of drugs. She can only try when you call her to say, I want that fix, and try to talk you out of it and try to make sure that you don't. But that sponsor is only as needed, you
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah.
long as you need them. But they're not there day in and day out to catch that. You know, you can call your therapist and say, I need an appointment, but your therapist can't talk to you after hours and talk to you and talk you down. It's going to be your coach that you're going to call and say, you know, because you build a relationship with this person to say, I'm going through something and I need to talk. And I'm like, okay, especially when you're trying to talk the person off the ledge. Yeah,
That's tough. Yeah.
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 Especially
That's
when they
tough.
have nobody, they don't have friends, family, no one that gives them that support. Yep. So that's sad part about it. That's why I said coaches are definitely needed, because the same way, like I said, when it comes to the situations with coaching a game, I think a game is no different than life. It's just you're going against different teams, different people. It's just a life game, a life game.
Mm,
And every
yeah.
win is a win.
So then, it would be good to to call yourself a life game coach.
Because I mean, I think that's important because we'll we'll be helping people the rest of our lives and what we do, because it will always be a life game that we have to work
Yeah.
people through. It's not like a basketball game where you get a championship. Our championship is that we wake up every morning. Our, our championship is that we stay focused and we stay on the goals that we're meant to be on. I think those little things we get, whether it be getting a, good job, married, kids, you have one day where you have a good day. Nobody is destroying your life. Nobody's leading you astray. Nobody is being that
Yeah.
wolf and sheep clothing. Nobody is being that Jezebel's harlots and succubus trying to lead you astray. So I think, to me, those wins are the days where nobody's impacting your life. You're maintaining your peace and tranquility. You accept your flaws and imperfections and you turn them into strengths. And you are having those little wins. Whereas that basketball game is those huge wins and those huge losses. I think every day that we're alive and we just have one day we said, I had one day of peace.
Yeah.
My health is good. I think those are our greatest wins versus all of these. You know, it is good to have the money because you can get the best health care, you can get the best of everything. But I think people don't understand the best of everything is not the external of it, as far as the cars, the houses. It's more so your health and wellness, having the best health care, having the best foods, being able to travel. You don't work for anybody, you work for yourself. And the people that you have working for you, the goal for them is to be able to be, the best butterflies, and you're making them into better people, the people that work for you. They come
That's
in every day happy to be one to come to work.
right. That's peace of mind, and that's, I think, we need to take moments out of our day, or weeks or months, and have gratitude for those. We seem to take them for granted, um, because we always think that there's something more that needs to be done, right? There's something more that we need to have, or we need to own, or all that stuff. So I think that's really important, is to take stock and be grateful for what we. Oh, that was a peaceful day. That was a good day.
I had a great workout. My
Yeah.
babies came back home safely. You know, the simple things, those simple goals. And I tell people with healing recovery, you don't want complicated. When you're recovered and I tell people it's three stages of healing recovery. There's isolation, there's hibernation, and there's a cocoon stage. And everybody says, what does that mean? I said, isolation is you're basically healing. You're basically coming to terms with there's nobody there in isolation. It's just you. And maybe the people that are meant to help you through your journey. So it's not your family, it's not none of that. It's just you by yourself. And now you're alone on this journey and you have nobody that you know of, that you know personally, walking with you. It's when you hit rock bottom and everybody walks away from you because you have nothing to offer them. You lost everything. So that isolation is when you lost everything and you're trying to sit still and just say, oh my God, this happened. I'm dealing with the emotions of it. I'm crying. I'm all over the place. Hibernation is okay. Now that I done started crying, now that I'm, not panicking anymore. Now it's let me just sit still and figure out what I need to do. Let me start researching how I'm going to get through this and how I'm going to make it through, trying things and seeing what works. The hibernation, the cocoon stage is when you are preparing yourself to get to the other side of the darkness and getting into the light and being the phoenix and flying and being that butterfly. Because now that cocoon, now you're that caterpillar that's been going on a slow journey. Now you're going into that cocoon and you're wrapping yourself into it. And now you're becoming this beautiful butterfly. You're coming out of that cage. You're coming out of those chains that have been holding you back from your greatness. You've accepted your flaws and imperfections. You've turned them into strengths. You embraced the things you've been through. And now you close chapters. You have left the past behind. And now you're in this cocoon and now you're working out, you're walking, you're losing weight, you're figuring out what this new version of you is going to look like, what this new version of you is going to do, what this healed version is going to walk out into. You now know what the world is like. You've seen everything. Now you're going to face family and people not even going to recognize you. And then you fly and now you're soaring and you're this beautiful butterfly, not based on nobody else. You, the work that you did to become the butterfly, not depending on anybody else. Nobody was in your ear. Nobody was telling you what you can and cannot do. It was just you and the people that helped you through the journey. And now we're like the parents, we're letting you go and saying, here, now you're ready to go out here in the world. We're still here, but you're ready to get out here in the world. And so now you're maintaining that healing and recovery. You're maintaining that because you got to, while you were in that cocoon and that isolation and that hibernation stage, you were able to rest during that hibernation stage. You weren't always on this move, trying to do for everybody else, lowering yourself. Now you're like, I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
I get to enjoy just being one with me. And I get to enjoy all the blessings that I gave to everybody else. You just get to enjoy you for a little bit in that hibernation stage. You get to rest for a little bit. And then in that cocoon stage, now I can do things on when I see fit. Now I know how and what works for me. Now I'm actually doing it, and now I'm in the world, and that's the routine I will continue to do for the rest of my life, unless I have to adapt or change. But the majority of that routine stays the same. Products may change, the way you go about it may change, but you have a routine that works and you're maintaining your health and wellness. You're maintaining, no matter what anybody says to you, unless they put their hands on you, those words don't have any value. You
Right.
know how to make better choices and decisions, and your actions, your behavior are better, your emotional intelligence is better. And now you want to maintain that. So now it's no longer, I want to lower myself to build other people up. Now it's, no, if you're not on the same level as me and you don't see yourself the way I see you, then I'm not going to do it. And I think that's important. And that's why I said, to have people to help you on the journeys. And that's, what we as coaches do. We assist you on your journey, but we don't lead you, we only guide you based on the direction you want to go. And we just help you to make sure you're staying on the right direction and you're not being manipulated, bamboozled, and led astray and lied to, I would say.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a good definition.
Yeah. I think that's important too, because, like I said, I didn't have that on my own journey. So
Yeah.
to help people to say, you know what, I'm on this path, and they come back and they say, I'm starting to doubt things. Why are you doubting things? Why are you questioning it? Your instincts are not wrong. If you feel, it's not right, then weigh the pros and cons. If the cons outweigh the pros, then you know not to do it. The pros outweigh the cons, then you go for it. But you must make sure you look at everything. And I think we also teach people the importance of
Yeah.
researching before they make decisions and making sure they're making the right decisions. But what I don't like is coaches that will say, and I saw one that was about fitness. She said people shouldn't eat yogurt. And I'm just sitting here like, why not? So I think too many people, they base themselves on what they did, but not
Yeah.
understanding not everybody's the same. We're
Right.
all different.
We're all different. We're all very different and different things. Some things that that I can participate in, that I can eat, other people can't. Same thing with my wife. She can eat certain foods and it doesn't affect her. And if I have the same thing, my body doesn't like it. It doesn't react. Now it's part of it is because from a certain age your body changes. You're always changing. Your cells are constantly changing, your hormones, all of that. So things that I was able to participate in when I was in my 20s, it's not the same anymore now that I'm in my 60s. And that's okay. But it's also
Yeah.
okay to say that this is for me. This is how I want to be, right? It's not for
Mm-hmm.
everybody, but this is for me and this is how I want to be.
Yeah.
So
And that's
it's
why you have more than one person to, option.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just think that's important because, like I said, when I listen to people and they're saying, like, there's a guy by the name of Michael Diamond, what I look about him is that he talks about menopause from multiple different body types. And I think that is something a lot of people don't understand. There are some people that don't lose weight because of thyroid issues, fibroid issues. I tell people that was the first thing I did. I went to the doctor to find out what was wrong. And come to find out, it wasn't the fact that I was eating. It was I had fibroids, a hernia, thyroid issues. I said, so when those things were cleared, and then having stomach issues, when I started learning about insulin and inflammation and how to go about doing that, and then having 16-hour fasts versus fasting for 30 days. He said, you don't have to do that. You can fast every day for 16 hours. Stop eating at 6 o'clock, wait 16 hours, and then eat. And then between this time and this time you eat, you work out, you walk. He said, but he's like, the treadmill doesn't work for everybody. You can do as simple as walking. Some people, when they lose weight, they still do these extreme exercise. And he's like, no, because now you're eating away muscle because you have no fat. You're
Right.
losing muscle because you have no fat. He
Right.
says, so you have to cut down. You still have to work out. You still have to maintain it, but you don't have to work as hard. If you do, you cut down your workouts. So I mean, it made sense. And I was like, that makes sense. He said, yeah, it makes, it's just something where women are different because of our menstrual cycles, or our lifestyles, and those things play a factor. So when you talk about weights and you talk about health and wellness, I tell people it's not even about the weight. There are some people that lose weight and they have more medical issues than they did when they were bigger, because I tell people the one thing about bacteria and pesticides and pain, it loves weight. It loves it, because all them diseases and illnesses can hide behind the weight. The cancer and all of that can hide behind the weight.
Yeah.
And then when you lose the weight, you go to the doctor, they're now telling you, oh, you have this going on and that going on. Why didn't you see it when I went to the hospital? He said, because weight covers all of that.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
can't see it because it's all that weight. And when you're bigger, you're not as active. You're eating unhealthy. And then your brain is fixated on relationships and fixated on the everyday decisions, that it doesn't understand what the body goes through. And then when both shut down, that's when both of them finally see, oh, okay, wait a minute now. I now see the damage I'm doing to my body. Now the body's like, okay, I see what, you know, my reaction as far as my emotions and pain has caused the brain. And now you're like, wait a minute. Now we need to understand each other and figure each other out, to figure out how we're going to go about understanding how to live the rest of our lives in peace. And then once you start healing both, and both are able to understand the other, which was hard to do because I said the neck only is the thing that connects both of them along with the nervous system. I said, now the nervous system not only connects to the body. So now when I make decisions, I'm like, wait a minute, how is this going to affect me internally? How is this going to affect me externally? How is this going to affect my health and wellness? How is this going to affect my household? How is this going to affect this before I make a decision? Because yeah, even though it feels good, it doesn't mean that, I tell people feelings are just they're temporary, it's not permanent. But it's just like that same high you get off an addiction. What you're willing to do to get that high is not just about drugs and alcohol. It can be relationships, it can be jobs, it can be all kind of stuff. I said, so you have to learn that even though you may want that thing or that person, you got to think about the long run. How is that person going to affect you in all aspects of your life, before you just say, okay, I'm just going to bring this person in my life and they don't contribute anything?
Mm-mm.
Or they bring their drama, because they got drama too. They got chaos too. They got past too. So you're not just bringing this person in because they look good, because they got a nice car, they're good in bed. No, you need to look at what else they bring, their past experiences, how they make the
The
whole
whole
package of it
package.
all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The whole package. You got to do. Yes.
So yeah, you definitely have to look at all of it. And that's what I would say. That's the one thing I love about being a coach, is that, because you're gonna get a lot of, but I love him. Okay. You love him. Why? Because he pays the bill. Okay.
No,
You can
that's
pay the
not a
bill.
good reason. That's not it.
You can pay your own bills. I learned mommy, daddy, child dynamics, and I'm learning a lot of people want parents, because a lot of women don't have their fathers, and a lot of them are looking for daddies, and
Mm,
a lot of men are looking for mommies. And I'm like, I don't
that's not
want
a
to.
that's not a good combination. How,
I'm not your mom.
how about being friends first? How about actually liking the person first? Right? That's the thing, is that I think people jump into relationships and it's based on chemistry, and it's very quick and it's very, but all of that can fade. And what you really want is, you really want to know how that person's going to behave under stress, under stressful situations. When everything's all fine and good, everything's all fine and good. But how do they react when there's a stressful situation, when there's pressure?
Yeah.
That is really, really important. And a lot of people, they get together and they're not friends.
Mm-mm.
They're not friends. And if you're gonna, especially if you're gonna marry somebody, you're talking about a lifetime. So you need to like that person, not just what they give you, but what if you need to like that person for who they are. And that's something that I think also we should be teaching in schools as well. And relationships, critical thinking and relationships I think are really important to teach kids. Not romantic relationships necessarily, but relationships with people, right? What
Mm-hmm.
your boundaries, speaking up for your boundaries. No, that's not right. Or I don't feel, no, I don't want to do that because that does not feel right for me, right? We
Yeah.
don't teach kids that. And so,
Maintaining the boundaries because they'll drop their boundaries
yeah,
to make everybody else happy. Yeah,
yeah, I absolutely. Um, I think that's absolutely critical.
I agree. I absolutely do because that's one thing I teach my son is that your boundaries are important and keeping those boundaries are important. I'm on non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? And why are you letting go of those non-negotiables because the other person is, you know, but that's about it. But how can people reach you as far as being able to get in touch with you as far as coaching?
Super easy. They can find out about all of the different goodies that I offer by going to expertauthoritycoach.com. That's expertauthoritycoach.com. And I offer a complimentary strategy session so we can talk about this in particular, about building your authority through the things that you're passionate about. So we talk about creating, we might create TikToks together. We might work on your website. If you don't have a website, we might get you one and get you, started. But it's all about that branding and how you want to present yourself to the outside world. And that's the best place to reach me, expertauthoritycoach.com.
Hey, well, I thank you for doing this for me. And we're
Thank
definitely
you
gonna be
so
going on
much,
your
Don.
you're welcome. And we'll definitely be on your podcast and we'll
Yes.
go into that because you're gonna teach me some things because
Ah,
I'm new to the websites and new to this and learning from you is on your episode is going to be very 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 great and I
well,
appreciate
fun.
you.
Thank you, darling. I appreciate you. I
I
appreciate you.
appreciate
You're lovely.
likewise. So guys, this has been a pleasure and I definitely enjoyed having Miss Christine on here and I appreciate y'all for joining me for this episode. And with that being said, we are out of here and I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Okay, y'all, I'm here. I figured it would be easier to show the podcast just off the gate versus doing an introduction. Because I feel like that, last time I tried to do it with the introductions, it just hasn't been working out. So I just post the podcast itself and then let you guys hear it and see it. And then you guys can go from there. But I thank y'all for joining me for the episode. But like I said, the misconceptions of coaching, and everybody thinks coaching is easy. Everybody thinks coaching is just something you create a course and you just create something and that is all you do. No, it's a lot more to it than that. And I really just wanted to talk about these struggles that I went through as far as coaching. And there are a lot of people that reach out to me about websites. They reach out to me about, helping me. But right now, I can't afford that. It's too expensive right now. So to have somebody that wants to help you and want to reach out to you and help you build it and, help you and give you the tools, that I think is more important. And like I said, some people don't even know where to start when it comes to coaching. Some people don't even have a teaching degree and don't know how to teach at all when it comes to that. You know, that's the crazy part about it. So, I just feel like it's just one of them things that I'll never in life really understand. But at the same time, I've been on many people's stuff, and it's just always been this thing about, it just not being me learning anything. It's more about them selling products. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with selling products. I think, selling products and putting your products out there is important. But when you're giving people a course and you're not the one teaching it, how do you know the person actually went through with everything? Now, don't get me wrong, there's some courses on you learn a lot. Don't get me wrong. I still got some courses I got to do, which is something that I'll be doing come January, focusing on my holistic coaching certification. But some of them you got to literally take the certification. But I do like the information, and I still have a lot of the information from a lot of my past courses that I have downloaded that are helpful when it comes to coaching. That's different than you paying $1,500. Now the courses that I bought were like $16, $9.99. Those courses is one thing, because you can sit down, go through it. And the one thing I can say on Umdi, you have to actually go through the course. You can't skip through. You can't go to the next one until you finish the last video. But it's not like that when it comes to $1,500 courses. $1,500 course is a whole different thing. I feel like that when it comes down to building a course, that's something that needs to be physically taught. When it comes down to how to speak as far as actually the act of something, then yeah, you absolutely need to coach that live. But a lot of people don't have a teaching degree because you don't even know, if these people are even using it. I have courses that I haven't, when I went through this thing to give for charity, that's how I got into coaching in the first place. There was somebody that was basically doing something, and I was interested, and I ended up contributing for the cause. We did get courses. I still got them courses. Got to go back and find them. But I just think it's important that when it comes to selling courses, when it comes to doing webinars and seminars, you really got to, before you really get into it, you need to build an audience first. Build an audience first. I think that's important. And then once you do that, have them come to your webinars, your seminars. And even with Tony Robbins, he has free courses, but he also has VIPs for like $47, $97. But you get extensive coaching with him live. It's not like that you're paying $97 and you're not getting nothing out of it. Tony Robbins does these private meetings with people, and he basically teaches an extra a little bit longer. So that's one thing. It's just like when you're doing a 30-day challenge and you really got to plan it out. Now, when you have people that can help you as far as the videographer, when it comes to finding the right cameras, things like that, those things need to be taught. So if you're going to do a course where you're charging $47 to teach people how to write a course, then you need to be the one to teach it. I think some people are hands-on. So to be able to show them how to go about creating a course and actually having them to send you what they've done, and you get to look at it and you get to go over one-on-one with those people to say, well, this is good, but this could be a little bit better. And then not only that, the importance of how to add videos and stuff like that. Nobody taught me that. I had to learn it on my own. So it's a lot of stuff about coaching that you're not taught. And you really have to
before you really get into professionally, I would really say just try to build your audience first. And like I said, you can get the courses that are already pre-done and make them your own, which makes it easier. Writing books is a good thing, but while you're doing that, you need to build everything else. But I would say don't go professional until you're ready. Don't go professional until you're absolutely ready. Learn your craft. Um, then once you learn your craft, then like once a week, just start doing videos and then see who shows up. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do as far as coaching and stuff. Because teaching is no different than coaching, honestly. But you really got to do the work to really, you know, become good at it. It's not going to be easy. But like I said, you have a lot of people reaching out to you, talking about they want to, sell you a course and stuff like that. But you didn't learn anything. Some people watch them things and won't even remember what they were taught. So that's why I say, my coaching is different because the person's not even going to realize they're building their own course. We all are on a course, and everything you do is actually your course, and that course, when you get finished, will get passed down to your kids. So you'll be creating something that you can use for your children through any situation they go through, because they'll see your journey and your pain and your destruction and chaos that you've been through. But they'll also see how you made it to the other side, what you learned from it. So the course that I'm creating, you can use for your kids, your husband, your wife, family. You can use it for anything. And the good thing about it is they can basically create what they want to create. So while they're writing in these journals, you're actually writing your course and you don't even realize it. So you'll be writing your course because that's the whole point of a journey is a course. A course is what direction are you going? Um, which way do you plan to go? So whatever that course takes you is where you gonna go. But either way it go, everybody gonna go down a different direction. Everybody's gonna go down a different road. So don't think that your road that you're going on is gonna be the same as somebody else's, because it will be different. You're gonna have 150 people taking the same course, and each person may be going down a different path, and they may be on a different level. That's why when I create the courses, they're based on different levels. You're going to have the mild, the medium, and the high, or low, medium, and high. Just depends. Some people may be on level 7, some people may be on level 8, some people may be on level 10. But whatever level you're on, there will be a course for it. So there will be 3 different videos. One for the, lower, medium, and the higher people. But it might be 1 through 3, 3 through 6, and then 7 through 10. No, 7 through 9, and then 10 by itself. So there'll be like 4 courses or 4 different levels that you have to obtain. So that's the good thing about the course. The course is just levels. And that's the beauty of it. You can make it into levels, which is something not too many people do. But that's pretty much it. I don't want to take up that much of y'all time. I just want to do this quick, video right quick about, this conversation I had with Christine about coaching. I will be on her podcast and we'll be getting more in depth about the things we don't like about, coaches and the things that's out there and the misconceptions. So really excited about that. So I just want to come on here and introduce y'all to Miss Christine, and please check her out. And with that being said, I thank you guys for joining me for this episode. I'm your host, Goddess Asha Mariama. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Till next time. Bye, y'all.